Seemingly inconsequential changes in sea temperature due to global warming eventually result in declines in fish and seabird populations. So we're saying like inconsequential changes in the sea temperature actually result in the decline of fish and seabird populations. A rise of just 2 degrees prevents the vertical mixing of seawater from different strata. So we're saying like whatever this is can't mix. This restricts the availability of upwelling nutrients to pea plankton. Okay, cool. Since zooplankton, which feed upon pea plankton, feed the rest of the food chain, the declines are inevitable. All right, so what is our conclusion here?
Hold on.
So a lot of people want to pick this last sentence that the declines are inevitable, but what is that? So what is that supporting?
Oh, it's supporting the fact that the decline. Hold on. Inconsequential changes in sea temperatures are
Yes.
due to the global warming eventually result in declines.
Yeah, so since the declines are inevitable, that means that these changes in the seawater due to global warming are actually resulting in the declines.
Yeah. So the declines is more so like a support, or it's more like an outcome of that kind of thing.
Yes, it's saying the declines are inevitable, and so then it's honestly kind of saying the same thing, but just for this, we'll go to the top. And then, so for this one, it says, which of the following most accurately describes the role that the argument by the statement that Z feed upon P? So what does the fact that Z feeds upon P, what is that in relation to?
Well, the since, I think you said before, like turn it into like a because or something
Oh
like
yeah.
that.
So this is definitely a premise. We
Premise.
weren't wrong like this at all. So we're saying since this declines in the declines are inevitable. Yeah, absolutely. That the declines are inevitable is a conclusion, but it's just our subsidiary conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
But I want you to think, what is this pink sentence role to the green sentence? Like, why is the fact that Z eats P important?
It's like it's a premise. It's like
Yeah, but
it's
yes, you're right. But why is that premise important? Like, what is that premise showing us?
it's like one of the
Oh, hang
reasons
on one
why
second.
this happened is because of this. You're on mute. Oh, giving it a reason why as to why the conclusion is what it is.
Yeah, like if Z does, it shows us how, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so go ahead and start with A and tell me like it, leave it, or hate it.
I don't think it's a hypothesis.
No, it's not we're not hypothesizing that Z eats on P.
No. It is intended to provide examples of ways, blah, 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 blah. But, okay, example of ways of vertical mixing. Like, I thought the conclusion was the first sentence.
Right, but it could still, but is it intended to provide an example? Is this an example of ways in which the vertical mixing of seawater affects feeding habits?
Yeah, I would keep it.
It is an example of the way. Okay, let's keep it for now.
Yeah. It shows how global temperature changes affect larger sea animals indirectly. I don't think so. No.
Wait, but isn't that what our whole conclusion is? Is that global warming results in declines of fish and seabird populations?
Yeah.
And so doesn't the fact that Z feeds upon P show us how global temperature change affect larger animals?
Oh, it was just written differently in like
Yes.
different words, kind of thing.
So what
It's a word thing.
so it's actually going to be C
See.
for that reason, because it does help show how global changes affect larger animals indirectly, right? Because it's saying like, yeah, because this eats this and we need to have this because the rest of the population feeds upon it.
Yeah.
But what makes B wrong is I would say it's an example of ways in which the but it's not this one is wrong for such a silly reason. It doesn't show us multiple ways. It's just one way.
Oh, I looked at it as I like the fact that it said provide an example, but I didn't like what came with it afterwards.
Right, because I do think that Z, which feeds up on P, is an example of, well, I guess Z, which feed upon P, actually, if it was the sentence before, this restricts the availability of upwelling nutrients to P, I think that would be that could make B correct if it said just one way, is an example of an way rather than is. But Z feeding on P is just a fact that's needed to help show how global warming affects other animals indirectly. And then B says it is offered as one reason that global warming must be curdled. No, our conclusion, I bet a lot of people pick this, to be honest.
What
But
is
our
curdle again?
argument is not saying that we need to stop global warming, right? Our
Yeah.
conclusion is just saying that global warming like results in this. We
Mhm.
and then B says it is offered as support of the idea that global warming poses a threat to all organisms. No, we don't say that. We don't say that. We just talk about results in declines of fish and
Fish
sea.
and seabird.
Yep, and so that's why the answer is C.